All right, what did you go ahead and put your Chromebooks away? What I would like for you to do is on your homework sheet of paper, I want it done on a piece of paper. We're going to do around the room, just like in basketball, around the world. Have you ever played that? There's 3 questions. They're just around the room. You're just answering 3 different questions there. I want you to answer the question in the back first. It is 2 3/7 compared greater than, less than, or equal to 2 43/100. Then do the one on the sideboard over here. Negative 6/17 is greater than, less than, or equal to negative 0 36/100. The last one is negative 5 2/5 is greater than, less than, or equal to negative 5 45. We'll also write it up here on the board. Each question, again, greater than, less than, or equal to. You have to show work for these types of questions, otherwise it's just a guess. Go ahead and solve those 3 questions. Whenever you're done with all 3, just raise your hand. 2 3/7 into a decimal. So 2 3/7. What I would recommend is change this into a decimal form, because this is going to be like 43/100. This is 3/7. You do not have a common denominator to compare. So you do 3 divided by 7, just like Caden did in that backboard. When he did it, he should have gotten 4. This goes in here 4 times 28. Get 2, add a 0. That goes in there 2 times. We can stop right here. Some people kept going, and Michael actually kept going, and he realized when I went by and looked at him, he told me, I did not need to go this far. And I really like how he acknowledged that, his understanding. Okay? The reason is because now we can compare in our 100 spot. So this number is now 2 42/100 roughly. Right? What number is greater? Lila. Good. 2 43/100. These are both positive. So 2 43/100 is farther right on the number line. It's closer to 3 compared to 2 42/100. All right. Questions on that one? All right. Let's go ahead and go over the second one. Oops. Negative 6/17 and negative 0 36/100. Over there. I think it was Gabe who did this one. Oh, who did the second one? So we divide 6 divided by 17 when solving for that. Okay, 17 is not going to 6. You add decimal point 0. 17 goes into 60 3 times, and we get 51. Left with 9, bring another 0 down. 17 goes into 90 5 times, which is 85. Can I stop here? Yes, I can stop here. Decimal point goes up. So what I'm really comparing now is negative 0 and 35/100 compared to negative 0 and 36/100. These 2 numbers. Be really careful here, because they are negative. So which one is farther right on the number line? Annabella? Negative 3,500 would be farther right on the number line. Let's draw a number line here. If I have 0 and negative 1, 1. Negative 0 and 3,500 could be somewhere right here. But if you get negative 0 and 3,600, that's going to be closer, just by a little bit, to negative 1. Okay, so negative 0 and 3,500 is farther right. Does that make sense? Questions on that one? Okay. All right. Again, I recommend changing your fractions to a decimal because you want to do one step. But the third one is one that is fine to go ahead and do the fraction form, and I will show that so we can compare. All right. Gabe up here changed 2/5 into a decimal. 2 divided by 5, that's 0.0. 5 goes into 24 times, that's 20. 0. So this is negative 5 and 4/10. We have negative 5 and 45 hundredths. What can we add at the end of this, Caden? We can add a 0. It might be easier to compare that. All right. Be careful, they are both negative. So which one is farther right on the number line? Which one has a larger value? 5. 5 and what? 40 hundredths. Yep. Or negative 5 and 2/5 is the greater number. Okay. This negative 5 and 45 hundredths is going to be a little bit closer to negative 6, meaning it's farther left on the number line. All right. For those of you, and I know at least one person who's in here, Samantha, change these into fractions, which works, especially on this one. It's actually kind of quick to do it. Okay? Negative 5 and 45 hundredths. That's how you write it as a fraction. This is negative 5 and 2/5. How do you change 2/5 to have a common denominator? Liam? Not 25. Multiply it by 20. Yep, 20 over 20. You get 40 hundredths. So what you're really comparing is negative 5 and 40 hundredths compared to negative 5 and 45. Okay. Okay. Yep. Works. And this is large. Right? Questions? All right. Go ahead and you can put that away. The only thing you need out is a pencil. What is absolute value? Alex.
Absolute value is a distance. A number is from 0 to the number line, and therefore is never negative.
Perfect. Okay. Can you travel a negative distance? If you think so, please give me an example. Gabe. Okay. If I was here, if I started here and I took 10 steps backwards, right? If I go from this point back to my original point, how far did I travel? 10 steps, right? We can measure that out. It's a distance. It's going to be positive. Okay. Think about a ruler. Could you ever measure out in the negative? Your ruler would have to. I don't even know how that would work. Okay? Think about driving your car. If you got a car, imagine you're in there driving. You put it in reverse and drive to the K. In reverse. Did you travel a negative distance? No, you just traveled backwards. You still traveled a distance. It's going to be positive. It's a half a mile. Okay? So a distance is never negative. Okay, that's really important because that's what absolute value talks about. It talks about the distance from 0. Okay, a little bit here. How we read this, who remembers, who saw these lines on the pre-test and was like, what are those? Right? Okay? These are the absolute value symbols. So how you would read this here would be the absolute value of n. How would we read this? Samantha. Good. The absolute value of -3. What's the answer to the absolute value of -3? There's a number line here. 0. Here's -1. -2. -3. -1. Sydney.
3.
It's 3. They were at -3. How many units is it away from 0? 1, 2, 3. There's 3. Okay, how do you read this one? Man. Good. The absolute value of 5. What is the answer to the absolute value of 5? Maddie? It is 5. If we kept this going, this is 3, 4, 5. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units away. You know, we went to the left. It's still a distance. This right here is the distance it traveled. Okay, it's a positive number. Questions? All right. I want you to try the questions in part 1, and there's a tricky one. We'll talk about it once you've tried it. Who can read A for me and give me the answer? Michael.
The absolute value of 9.
Good. The absolute value of 9, which equals 9, is correct. Nice job. On the second one, Owen. Good. The absolute value of -3 equals -3. Go back to your definition at top. Absolute value is the distance from 0. So will our answer ever be negative? No, it's saying how far is -3 away from 0? How many units is that? Lila? It is 3. Okay? So it will not be a negative number once inside that absolute value. All right, C. The absolute value of 0. Annabelle? Good. Equals 0. The distance from 0 is 0. Right? And it's no units away. Okay, does anyone have any idea how D? It says, you don't know any idea how to read that. Caitlin.
The negative absolute value.
So you're really close. Really close. Instead of saying the negative, we say the opposite of the absolute value of -8. Okay? The opposite of the absolute value of -8. What do you think it is? Alex. -8. Say it with some confidence.
-8.
There we go. -8. What do you think? Is Alex right? I'm not saying just someone to say with confidence, just be confident in your work. If you're wrong, you're wrong. It's no big deal, right? We're practicing. It's the first time I've ever done something like this. Okay, how you solve these, Alex is correct. All right, how you solve them? You work inside out. The absolute value of -8 is what? Kaden? Is 8. What is the opposite of 8? Maddie? -8. All right. Here's a couple practice ones. Just for fun. How would we read this and solve it? Okay. Good. The opposite of the absolute value of 2. The answer would be Audrey? -2. That's correct. Absolute value of 2 is 2. The opposite of 2 is -2. All right, next one I want you to try. I don't want you to see. You will never have a test question like this, but it's fun to try to figure it out. Emery, what do you think? -3. We agree with -3?
Yeah.
All right, who has no idea? When I try these problems, when I first looked at them, I'm like, all right. But I'll show you how to take your time and go through it. Solve inside out. What's the absolute value of -3? 3, right? What is the opposite of 3? -3. What's the opposite of -3? 3. What's the opposite of 3? -3. What's the opposite of -3?
3.
What's the opposite of of 3?
-3.
-3 is the correct answer. Again, never going to give you a problem like that on a test, but this is important. It's kind of fun to do. All right, next I want you to go ahead and we're going to put these in order from least to greatest. Or I'm sorry, greatest to least. It's on your paper. When you write the answer, I want you to write it as they are up here, not solved. Okay? So put those in order from greatest to least. Who has the greatest value? Who's going to be the largest? Owen. 1. It's not going to be absolute value of 1. Another one that's greater. Annabelle? So what is it up here? The absolute value of -7. Okay, that's the largest. What's the next largest? Lila? Absolute value of -3. Audrey, what's next? Good. Absolute value of 1. Then what do we have? Alex?
Absolute value of 0.
Absolute value of 0. And? Just -1. -3, -7. If you were to solve these, this is 7, 3, 1, 0, -1, -3, -7. Is that in order from greatest to least?
Yes.
Yes, it is. Okay, one more thing I want to go up to before we leave. This is not on your guiding notes. There is a difference between finding the largest integer and finding the absolute value. Please do not pack up yet. Please listen to this. Driver A is at what number on the number line? Caitlin. Driver B is at, Audrey? -5. If you look, -2 -5. So driver A has the greater position relative to sea level. Driver A is closer to sea level, a larger number. If you look at the absolute value, so that is the distance they have traveled. Driver A, or driver B, has a distance of absolute value of -5. Driver A has the absolute value of -2. Which driver went a farther distance? Hayden. Driver B went a farther distance. So when you do that absolute value, you have to be careful which one is greater. Okay. Go back and forth. That's all I have for you. You should be able to complete Math Excel 8-3. If you have questions, make sure you ask.